To be a Black woman.
To be a Black woman.
To be a Black woman.
To be a Black woman. We don't give this topic the light that it deserves. Like, if we really think about it, in today's world, Black people are still fighting for their right to be seen and heard. And also women are still fighting for their right to be seen as equal and not inferior. So when you put that together, it just creates a lot of internal chaos. And then if you think about it, there's a hierarchy out there. The top of the hierarchy is white men, and then somewhere in the middle is white women, men of other races, women of other races, and at the very bottom is Black women. So that makes us a double minority. And don't let you be poor, because now you're triple. Don't let you be a part of the spectrum community, because it's just going to keep adding on and on and on.
When was I first introduced to the fact that I was a Black woman? I went to a Black high school. We had maybe 5 white students in my class. So it was never a thought. It was never a conversation. I took a 2-year gap from college, and then I decided to go to a state institution in Wisconsin. And there it was maybe only 5% Black or people of color. And that's when I realized that I was a Black person and a Black woman. The things I experienced from white students, how they look at you, how even when young kids would come and they would stare at you, which I thought was strange. And then you think back and go, oh, I'm a person of color. They've never seen a person of color before. Or what we, on your dorm floor, working with other white students, and the things that we did as white women with our hair and things of that nature, that was so fascinating to the other white students. So I can say I was 20. That's when I realized, I can say that I was introduced to being a Black person and a Black woman.
The first time that I was introduced to being a Black woman was when I was about the age of 5. And I grew up in a predominantly Hispanic neighborhood on Chicago South Side. And that was my first wake up call to being like one of the only Black girls in my class. That was a really, really big culture shock for me, having like 7 other Black students, including myself, in a predominantly white and Hispanic school.
I don't think I've ever not known that I was a Black woman. My mother had me at a young age. Her mother had her at a young age, and I've grown up seeing the struggles, but also the resilience behind them, and how hard they've had to push forward with, raising a family, creating a comfortable home, working, all these other things. And then simultaneously, my godparents, when I was younger, they would take me on so many adventures, and I would, see so many different children of different races as we were traveling, and I would see the difference in our experience. So I don't think I've never not known that I was a black woman.
I remember being a child, being raised and growing up with my grandmother, who was identified as very light. She could identify as white. She lived in very segregated times. I can recall her telling us stories about how her grandmother made her play to the white side of her so that she would be allowed to do things that usually black women wouldn't be able to do. So she always told us to just always stand strong and be very proud of the black woman that we are.
I, in my 20s, I worked for the telephone company, and there were very few people of color that worked on my floor, um, and there was another black woman that was in management, and I watched how she carried herself and how she worked. Um, I was a craft person, so I wasn't working on her level, but I just kind of watched her. And in our conversation, that's when she taught me that what's the expectation as being a black individual or a black woman in the work field. We have to put in more time, more effort, um, and take no thing for granted. We have to be careful of what we say it, and how we carry ourselves.
A lesson that was passed down to me about being a black woman is to have your own. My mother and all of the women in my family, when they talk to the younger generations like myself and my cousins, they always instilled importance of having your own, even if you're being taken care of or your situation isn't like, a dire situation, but just always have something for yourself, make something for yourself. That way you don't have to depend on anybody else.
Society at large has the tendency to put a lot of expectations on black women. Um, this goes back into history. I read a article by a woman named Ashley Davis, and she described how this goes back into history where women were black women during slavery times had to take on traditionally feminine and masculine roles due to the breakdown of the black family and things like that. And so we see that now in today's society where it's the black woman has to be mom, homemaker, cook, childbearer, but at the same time, she also has to be um, career woman, and she has to push forward with building a safe financial net underneath her family as well. And if you know, are too assertive at your job or you're doing too well at your job, then you're a bitch and you're aggressive. Or but if you're like all focused on home and less on your career, well, you're not a woman of your own and you need to venture out and do your own thing.
The pressures that society put on black women um, can be uh, overcoming the angry black woman syndrome. You have to be careful how you present yourself, and sometimes you can't always be verbal. You got to know when to go in and when to come out. Um, I think there's pressure being a black single mother in raising your children, providing the resources, providing a mindset, a higher mindset uh, to your children, and standing and being that example. I do think that other mothers uh, have to do this as well, but it's on a whole nother level when it comes to taking the responsibility to teach your children, especially when you're raising a Black boy, standing tall to say what the expectation is, because why you expect that, and bringing your children to a higher level of thinking. So, and I will say also, as being a Black woman, when you are a single Black mother and creating a relationship with their father, and um, how you carry yourself, how you interact with him, how you respond when there's negativity and things of that nature, because your children are looking at you and you want to be able to stand for what you know to be right, but uh, handle it in a way that is uh, that's an example to your children.
The pressures society puts on Black women, I feel like society makes Black women feel like we aren't allowed to feel what we feel. I think that when we voice our opinion about something, we get told that we're bitter or we're angry Black women, when we're just simply stating things that hurt us or things that we think aren't right. That doesn't make us bitter and that doesn't make us angry either. We're allowed to feel our emotions. I am proud to be a Black woman because I feel like I could do anything my mind is put to, anything my heart desires. I feel like I can attain it. I don't think the sky has a limit, for Black women. I think we could do it all. Everything from, being a hairstylist to being musicians to being a dancer to being a businesswoman to being, in law. And I think we could do everything. That makes me proud.
Today's society puts so much pressure on Black women to be perfect, to strive to be everything but who they are. Um, they have so many stereotypes about the Black woman that they want you to try to play up to be any other race, which is really tragic.
Despite how much pressure society puts on Black women, for me personally, what keeps me grounded is, pushing forward with all the things that I want to do and knowing that my ancestors fought for me to be able to have a choice in what I want to do right now. I am a student, I work, I explore my social life, my private life, and I take advantage of the fact that I'm here now and I'm able to make those kind of choices for myself. And I tune out the rest of the world because the reality is, whether I'm doing good, I'm going to get criticism. If I'm doing bad, I'm going to get criticism. No matter what, I'm going to get criticism. So why not do what I want to do?
To be a Black woman is to be strong, resilient, independent, and a trailblazer. I feel like being a Black woman is we are, we bring the culture, everything from the hair, the fashion, the food, even like the music. I feel like we as Black women, we're trailblazers for real.
To be a Black woman is to be resilient, to be strong, determined, have tough skin, a sense of being proud, and just strong, definitely strong.
To be a Black woman is to be um, a force, that force to be supportive, but loving and kind, uh, excellent, holistically excellent, to, uh, again, know when to um, speak and know when not to. Um, to be a black woman is to teach and stand for uh, spirituality, to be an example of knowing there's something bigger than you, so that you're that example not only to your children but those around you. To be a black woman is to be um, it is to be strong, but know when you're vulnerable, to learn how to handle yourself when you're vulnerable. And to be a black woman is, in the past, it's been that failure is not an option, but I believe that we are in a place now that black women, we have to know that it's okay to fail, but keep it moving.
To be a black woman is to be kind, assertive, um, resilient is going to be a common one, strong, brilliant, trailblazer. The list goes on and on of what it is to be a black woman.
I think the thing that saddens me about being a black woman is that seeing within our own culture how some of like our men could like express their underlying hate for black women. I think that, you know, there's it's okay to have preference. You know, it's okay to have preference. It's okay to love and like who you love. But when that like and love starts to cross into, you know, the things that you either hate or, you know, you unconsciously, you know, don't think like you're hurting, you know, your people's feelings or whatever, but it's super thin because sometimes the lines get crossed with that. People don't know how to still like respect, you know, black women and still have their preferences. The lines get mixed up, and then it problems like colorism and, you know, having hate for, you know, people who birthed you. It your true colors get shown then.
What saddens me about being a black woman is the expectation that you're unable to show weakness. Um, the things that come at you as a black woman can be so overwhelming, uh, but you're not expected to weep or respond negatively because we're people first, right? Even if you show some weakness and pull it together, that's more human than uh, being stifled in your feelings and not being able to show your feelings. So that saddens me um, about being a black woman. What saddens me too is um, that we, as there's so many mentors out there, and that there are black women that don't utilize those mentors and um, take advantage and choosing to be an example, because we as black women, regardless, we are examples to our young black girls, instilling that confidence, showing them that they're loved, regardless of whether they're your children or not. So, a lot of our black young women don't take the responsibility of being that example because I needed an example. I needed a mentor, and you got to pay it forward in your life. So those are the things that sadden me as a black woman.
It saddens me the most about being a black woman is that we are held to so many unrealistic standards. It's never okay for us to just be us, and our shine is always overshadowed by our culture in general.
It makes me really sad to see that oftentimes Black women are the butt of so many jokes. Like if you look at at the entertainment industry, there are so many portrayals of Black women as being loud, being ghetto, um, being a bum, just you know, lack of ambition. And what do? In in those instances, they criticize them, they make fun of them, they make jokes out of them.
So, what makes me proud of being a black woman is my lineage. My grandmother lost her mother at 9 years old, and she had to pretty much raise herself. You know, her father was in her life, but you know, back then it was pretty much that she was raising herself, and she was a great example to my mother and her uh, five uh, sisters. And it's those women who taught me how to carry myself, how to speak. They did not, even in your penmanship had to be a certain way. How you dress had to be a certain way. Um, a lot of things have changed now where our young people um, they don't wear stockings to church. That kind of goes against the grain with me because we were expected to carry ourselves a certain kind of way, and in the workplace and at church and out in the out in the out in the world. So that's pretty much what makes me proud. I come from great women who were strong, and I had uh, women that I can go to talk about anything, relationships, and I'm grateful for that.
I am proud to be a black woman because I feel like I could do anything my mind is put to, anything my heart desires. I feel like I can attain it. I don't think the sky has a limit, for black women. I think we could do it all. Everything from, being a hairstylist to being musicians to being a dancer to being a businesswoman to being, in law. And I think we could do everything. That makes me proud.
I am proud to be a black woman. We are definitely strong. We come from very diverse backgrounds. We are resilient. We are determined. And we just drip magic.
I know a lot of people be like, yeah, no, you're lying, but everything about being a Black woman makes me proud. There are a lot of trials, there are a lot of hardships, but there's a lot of beauty in being a Black woman. Um, and society at large tends to, you know, not help us understand it or see it, but we are very valuable.
My hopes for the future of black womanhood is that I hope that one day we don't have to be put through the ringer and go through struggle love to, you know, figure out what we desire. We desire anything, like if you're a good person, you know, I feel like, we deserve the love that we try to give others back into ourselves. And, I've had experiences within myself. I've seen, many Black women in my life be put through the ringer and be treated, horribly just to prove that they're worth something. And I don't think that, it has to take all that to get love. I think that, I hope one day that, people start to understand that, all these games and all these tests, it don't matter in the end. You know, we don't deserve that. None of us do.
My hopes for the future of womanhood, especially Black womanhood, is for us to learn a sense of unity, for us to learn to work together, for us to learn to cooperate, for us to be the best us that we can be, expand our horizons, be entrepreneurs. We can do anything that we put our minds to. You know, I see us. We've already had a black woman as a vice president. Why not president?
I hope that we continue to strive in excellence to be the best that we could be, and know that there's always somebody looking and always somebody listening. Um, I hope that Black women will not be selfish but selfless, to know to, as they move forward, that they put their arms continually. Because I think it's some great um, Black women that are out there that are not so much in the limelight, but there are women that sit at the dining room table that encourage and give hope, that have a listening ear, to that we learn and what our gifts are, and use those gifts and pay them forward, not only to our little Black and brown girls, but to our men as well, because um, sometimes Black women feel like they are not skilled in teaching men how to be men, but we can teach them how to treat women. So there are things that we can treat, that we can teach our young Black boys and young men, that we need to take responsibility for. So I think that as going forward, I think that we just need to uh, strive to be excellent in everything that we do and everything that we say and every type of conversation, because conversation is not necessarily words that come out of your mouth. It's how you carry yourself and your body conversation. So um,
I'm hoping in the near and not so distant future that Black women can be taken more serious in the media. We can be seen in a better light, um, that we're not categorized or put into a box, um, and that in the future more and more start to realize our worth and our value.